Alright guys, welcome to Mr. Morrow's Algebra class. Today we're going to be talking about 1-7 part 1, the distributive property. We already had a little taste of what the distributive property was the day that we were learning about the commutative property and the associative property, the multiplicative inverse property, identity property. We mentioned the distributive and I said we'd be coming back to it, and here we go, we're back to it. The distributive property is very simple, okay? And what it basically is telling you is to distribute or multiply the outside number of the parentheses for everything inside of the parentheses. Now, you have to understand that for the distributive property to be activated, to be valid, the quantities inside of the parentheses have to be being added or subtracted. This is not going to work for something like this. In that case, that's just a multiplication problem, and all that's going to equal is A times B times C, which would be ABC. So in order for there to be distributive property, please remember you have to have a plus or a minus sign in between the variables and or values inside of the parentheses. Does that part make sense so far? We know also that whenever you have variables and or numbers right next to each other without anything in between, they are being multiplied. Very good. Okay, so those are just some precursor information knowledge that I got to give you. Now, if I told you, here you go, distribute this to everyone in class, what does that mean to you? Distribute this to everyone in class. Give it to everybody. Very good, son. That's exactly what the distributive property is telling you. It's saying, hey, reader, this A here, I'm going to multiply it to the B, and then I'm going to multiply it to this, in this case, positive C. A times B equals AB. A times a positive C is plus AC. How does this work? Well, I could give you, for example, 2 times x plus 7. 2 times x equals 2x. 2 times a positive 7 equals positive plus 14. Does that make sense? Awesome. You can also have that variable or number that is being distributed on the right side. In this particular case, this A is being distributed to everything inside the parentheses. So I've got A times B, which is AB, and then A times a positive C, which is positive AC. So if I gave you, for example, I don't know, 2x minus 3 times 4. You're going to have 4 times 2x, which is 8x. Awesome. And then 4 times negative 3, which is negative 12. Awesome. Done. Does that make sense? Awesome. Now, just because they put values being subtracted, just because they have a negative in between, does not change anything, my brothers. Same procedure. This A is being distributed to everything inside of the parentheses. So, what's A times B? AB. What's A times a negative C? Minus AC. Right? Just like here. You with me? Okay. Now, let's give you an example. 4 times x minus 3. 4 times x is 4x. 4 times negative 3 is negative 12. Awesome. Does that make sense? The last type that they can give you is a subtraction inside of the parentheses and a number, again, or a variable on the outside of the parentheses. Same procedure. A times B is AB. A times a negative C is minus AC. So if I gave you, for example, 3x minus 2 times 3. This is 3 times 3x, which is 9x, and then 3 times negative 2, which is minus 6. Does that make sense, everybody? Now, sometimes the number or the variable on the outside is going to be a variable that is a like term to something inside of the parentheses. And there's a special rule that you have to remember for this case. I don't know if you guys remember from algebra, from pre-algebra, sorry, but how can I state this? Okay. When you have the same variables being multiplied to each other, the answer to that will be the same variable raised to the sum of the powers. So when you're multiplying the same variable, you keep the variable and add the exponents. For example, x times x squared. That's going to be x cubed and y. Every single number and variable in the universe, for example, number 2, the number x. Every single number on Earth, in the universe rather, is being multiplied by a 1, divided by a 1, and raised to the first power. Multiplied by a 1, divided by a 1, and raised to the first power. And I'll prove it. What's 2 times 1? 2. What's 2 divided by 1? 2. What's 2 to the first power? What's x times 1? X. What's x divided by 1? What's x to the first power? So in this particular case here, x times x squared, many of you may say, but Mr. Morrow, there is no exponent for the x. Yes, there is. It's just an invisible 1. So you keep the variable x, and what's 1 plus 2? It's 3. So x cubed. Now, how does this work for the distributive property, Mr. Morrow? That's really nice and all, and thank you. But so, let me explain. What if I told you this? Simplify 2x times 3x minus 5. Let's pay attention. I'm going to distribute. So 2x times 3x would equal 6x squared, because there's an x and an x. When I multiply the same variables, I keep the variable and add the exponents. And then what's 2x times negative 5? Negative 10x. Ding dong, the witch is gone. You're good. Does that make sense? Everyone understands this distributive property so far? You promise? Okay, awesome. Then let us continue. Okay, simplify each expression. How would I do this first one? How would I do this? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. 3 times x equals, and then 3 times 8 is positive 24. You've got to put the sign. If you guys just go this 3x 24, I'm sorry guys, unfortunately, that will be wrong every time, okay? Yes, sir. Okay, talk to me. What do you got? Negative 35b plus 28. I couldn't have done that better myself. Awesome. Negative 7 times 5b is negative 35b. Negative 7 times negative 4 is positive 28. Done. Yes, sir. Next, go. 5 times x is 5x. 5 times 7 is 35, and that's a positive 35. Done. Does that make sense? How about this one? Yes, sir. Finish it. There you go. Just don't pause. Because the only reason I say don't pause, like when you're telling an answer, he said it right, but he went negative 2 y squared. Don't pause. It's negative 2y squared. Great. because negative y times 2y is negative y squared, correct? And then plus 1y or just plus y. Because remember, y equals 1 times y as well. Awesome. Thank yourself. Great job. Does that make sense so far? Okay, now, you also have a distributive property, okay, with division. And it's the same thing. But instead of multiplying that outside number to everything in the parentheses, this time you're going to divide the denominator to every single thing on the numerator. Let me explain what it is that I'm talking about. This is a distributive property applied to division. In this case, gentlemen, the 5 gets divided into the 7x, and that 5 gets divided into the 2 as well. It is exactly the same as regular distributive property for multiplication, except it's division. You're just dividing it. It's no big deal. So the answer to this bad boy would be 7x divided by 5 plus 2/5. If I asked you to put everything in mixed number, then that would be 1 2/5 x on the numerator plus 2/5. Either or would work. It just depends on whether or not I asked for a mixed number. For number 6, the 8 gets divided to the 4 and the negative 2x. So this is going to equal 4 over 8 minus 2x over 8, which is going to equal 1/2 minus 1/4 x. Does that make sense, gentlemen? Yes, sir. Okay, thank you. Last but not least, what did I tell you, gentlemen, that this negative sign here really represents? Yes, sir. That's exactly right, my brother. This negative, guys, remember, that's really a negative 1 being distributed to the 2y minus 3x. Remember, it's a negative 1. So what's negative times 2y? Negative 1 times 2y. Negative 2y. And then a negative 1 times a negative 3x? Positive 3x. And that is your answer. Yes, sir. Of course it's multiplication, yeah. This was division, this is multiplication. I can switch up anytime I want. Does that make sense, gentlemen? We promise. Okay. Write that down. Give you a couple seconds. And then we're going to do some more practice. Because practice makes perfect. Especially in math. Really important. Okay, you ready? Okay. Let's see if this works. Yes, it did. What a beast I am, huh? All right. I'm just going to go down the line. Okay, I'm going to point at you, and I just want the answer. Ready? You guys ready? Go. Negative 6a minus 48. Okay, with all due respect, your multiplication is a little slow. Got to be quicker. Next. 4 plus 36x. That's exactly right. You distributed the 4. Next. Number 3. No. 6 times negative 5 is negative 30n. Correct, sir? Plus 42. Absolutely awesome. Next. 18m plus 20. Yes. That makes sense, boys. You okay? You okay, Baba? Yeah. Yes, sir. No. That's why you may have to get some glasses. I'm sorry. Okay? Thank you, my brother. If you forgot your glass, I'm sorry, Papa. Luckily, I'm going to be recording this, right? So worst case, you can see it at home. Thank you, sir. Yes, sir. Why is there a multiplication thing? I don't like that, but it's the same thing. This is a multiplication dot. Yeah, that's Mickey Mouse. Usually will not be there, but just in case it is, don't let it stress you out. It just means multiply. Thank you, son. Great job. You guys are doing great. Awesome. Okay, next. Let's do some more. Okay. Next. Yes, positive 32. Correct, my brother. Negative 8 times negative 3n. I can't just put 24n. That's wrong. No, it's not negative either. Negative 8 times negative 3 is positive, sir. Be careful with that, please. You guys want to really learn your real number operations. When the signs are the same and you're adding, you add and keep the sign. When the signs are opposite, you subtract as normal. That means large number minus smaller number. And you keep the sign of the larger absolute value. A negative times a negative is a positive. A negative times a positive is a negative. Please be careful. Thank you, sir. Next. No, not 8b. This is 8 times negative b, so it would be negative 8b minus 32. Not minus negative 32, no. It's 8 times a negative 4. It's just negative 32. Thank you, sir. Great. Next. Okay, this is going to be 5 minus 35n. Awesome. Next. Negative 6x. Negative 6 times a positive 4 is negative 24. Multiplication is key. My friends, I'm not trying to be rude, but if you don't know how to multiply, you are only making your life difficult. Calculators do not exist in this classroom. You should not be using them at home because I will never let you use them in a quiz or a test. Please, I beg you, memorize your multiplication tables all the way to the 15s, please, and thank you. Okay, next. No, we're going down the line. 15m minus 30. Excellent. Next. Negative 4 times negative 6p is absolutely right. 24p. Good. It's not plus. No, why did you go minus negative 28? Guys, it's just what's negative 4 times positive 7? Negative 28. You with me, my man? Thank you, sir. Okay, next. This says, my man, I know it's hard for you to see. I know you forgot your glasses today. It says 5 times b minus 1. So what do we get, Bubble? Huh? Okay. 5b. And then what's 5 times negative 1? Minus 5. Awesome. Good job. Next. 5x plus 45. Awesome. Next. 32x plus 32. Awesome. Next. No, not 42, my man. Very good, son. Negative 42 minus 6x. Yes. How about 15? Next. Negative 3x plus 15. Awesome. Next. Negative 50? No. Negative 50x. Very good, sir. Minus 5. Awesome. Makes sense, guys? We're doing good? Doing well? Awesome. Okay. Next. 5 plus 10v. Heck yeah, great job. Next. Negative 8. Who? Okay, plus negative 4. No, you guys are still doing this. I don't know. I did not teach that. Guys, let's go over this again. Let's go over this again. What's negative 8 times a positive 1? Negative 8. What is negative 8 times a negative 5x? Plus 40x. Not this plus, minus, minus, plus, plus, minus. No. It's either going to be a negative or a positive. And that's it, my man. Does that make sense, sir? Thank you, sir. Next. Negative 35k plus 28. Awesome, dude. Next. Negative 35a plus 30. Awesome, dude. Next. 5n plus 30. Awesome. Next. 12r minus 32. Awesome. Does that make sense, guys? All right. Bell's about to ring, so I'm sorry. We got to end this. Thank you very much for a great lesson.